Billy in the car, good morning.
Morning, guys. How we doing?
Doing great. Honestly, legit, honest smile on the face of Mike Vrabel when you called in the other day. So I'm glad you did that. And you've talked a lot about your relationship, so I don't want to ask you about that. But I do want to ask you about the analytics nerds who had their shells in a bunch over Mike Vrabel on our show, talking about how it doesn't necessarily make sense to throw the ball over 50 times in a football game because you end up losing 22% of the time. And the interwebs flew into a panic and said, this guy is only – we got Drake Maye, and he's only going to run the football, and it's going to be a disaster. Can you enlighten us a little bit on that, if you would?
Absolutely. I actually enjoy talking about this. So, I would say probably about 10 to 15 years ago, analytics started to come into play. Like when I first got the Houston Texans job, that was a time when, if you remember, like the Philadelphia Eagles used to go for it all the time on fourth down in a certain area of the field and things like that. And so I think that analytics are a guide, right? You study analytics to try to look for trends and statistics, but then in the game, in the actual game, you have to have a feel for the game. What is going on in this game? In this game, we're having a very difficult time running the football, or it's a game where our defense is really struggling, or so we have to control the ball. We have to figure out how to run the ball. So analytics is a guide going into the game, but once the game begins, you've got to have a real good feel for the game, and I think that's something that the best guys have a feel for games.
Bill, the one thing I think that makes Vrabel such a really good coach and a great decision by the Patriots, and you know better than anybody, is his personality as a player is the same as a coach, where he knows the ins and outs of the game. But to me, the biggest thing is the respect that he gets from when I was playing, his peers, and now it seems like as a coach, the respect that he gets from his players.
Yeah, without a doubt, Wig. I think that, look, you know this, like when a guy plays, 14 years, I mean, it's hard to play 3 years, right? Like, to play 14 years, to do all the things that he did as a player relative to the positions he played, the teammate that he was, the intelligence that he brought to the team, and then transitioning into coaching, I think when he walks into the room, especially in professional football, he has instant, cachet, right? Like he can walk in there and understand what it means to be a player and put these guys in the best positions to win. So I think that, plus the fact, you have to have a level of intelligence because you have to be able to coach all three phases in pro football. I have a strong belief in that. Like you can't just be an offensive guy, a defensive guy. And I think that's what he can do. He played special teams. He helped coach special teams for me in Houston with Larry Izzo when Larry Izzo was there. He obviously coached defense. He coached offense this past year in Cleveland. So I think he'll do a hell of a job.
Bill, some people, mostly media, upset that Drake Maye wasn't there for Vrabel's introductory press conference. As a head coach, do they care if their quarterback isn't there, on vacation, getting engaged, has a life outside of football? But people are making a bigger deal out of this than I think is necessary.
Yeah, the head coaches, I mean, I guess I just speak for myself. I could care less, right? It's about when, when the off-season program starts, you want the guy in the front row ready to go, right? It's not about press conferences. Press conferences are great, but somebody told me one time, Courtney, that it's all great at the press conference and everything's downhill from there. So, the press conferences are great, but, who cares who's at the press conference? It's about when the off-season program starts that you have 100% attendance, that everybody's there ready to go because you only have 9 weeks, I think, in the off-season, at least when I was a head coach. It might be more now or less, whatever. You only have 9 weeks, so you only have 9 weeks to be around your team. In college football, we can be around our team every day, but not in pro football. So everybody's got to be there. I'm sure Drake will be front row, ready to go with his notebook out, ready to lead the team.
Billy,
I just
sorry.
wanted to ask if the last name of the person who told you that was Belichick.
What? What told me what?
Press conferences. He wasn't a fan of the press conference.
No, I'll tell you a funny story about Belichick, though, Greg. When I got the Penn State job, I came back, after spring practice, my first spring practice, I came back to watch OTAs at the Patriots 2012. And, after practice, he's like, hey, how's it going? And, stuff like that. And I said, it's going all right. He's like, how's your staff and all that? And I said, it's good. I like the staff. He goes, yeah. Your first staff's always your worst staff. I was like, geez, Bill. I actually like my staff.
As he tries to put a staff together in North Carolina.
Right, that's perfect, Billy. He's only made 2 hires, and they're both family members. So what's going on with the North Carolina coaching staff?
I think he was joking, but it is what it is.
Billy, have you thought about maybe Patricia's a free agent, bring him in to help the offense with the Eagles this fall?
No, our staff's pretty set. We have a limited budget here, so
right.
We can't hire everybody.
Who do you like Monday night?
I'm telling you, I know Ohio State's favored, and I'm a big fan of Ryan Day, obviously. But I think it's going to be a hell of a game. I think Notre Dame on defense is very, very good, and so I'm gonna go with Notre Dame right now. And I think the way that their defense is playing and the way Al Golden has that defense going, I think it's going to be a hell of a game. But I think Notre Dame's doing a good job on defense.
What a crazy story, too, for Marcus Freeman coming in the way that he came in. How impressed have you been with such a young guy leading this team?
Yeah, he's very impressive. So I got to know him a little bit. He's actually friends with Mike. He from the Ohio State connection, and he came down to Houston a couple times and visited us when he was at, I forget where he was at, I think Ohio State. But he very impressive guy, very smart, and he's done a hell of a job with that team. That team is playing very well. They're tough, they're resilient, and it's going to be a great game on Monday night.
Are you? I know kind of where you stand. We all know kind of where you stand on NIL, but are you surprised that Quinn Ewers has declared for the draft, which means he will turn down somewhere around $6 million to stay in college football?
Yeah, I mean, I haven't read too much about that, but I would say, look, Quinn Ewers is a really good player. I've known Quinn Ewers since he was in high school. He's a really, when I went to Alabama, when he was thinking about transferring from Ohio State, he was a guy that we were looking at Alabama, and really good guy. Yeah, I mean, maybe he's got information that says that he's got a chance to be drafted in the first round. That's the only thing I can think of, because you're turning down a lot of money if you're turning that type of money down.
Yeah. Bill, one thing that is kind of interesting, Greg and I, we always have this discussion about new coaches or coaches getting hired, how much experience of being a prior head coach like Vrabel before will make it. I know it's a little bit different because, you've been a head coach twice at the college level, once at the NFL level. But if you were, hypothetically, and I know you're not, were going to coach in the NFL again as a head coach, how much experience and knowledge and things would you have learned from your first go-round that would make you, in your mind, an even better coach on your second go-round?
Without a doubt, you're going to be better, Wig. I mean, I think if you look at the history of that league, some of the greatest coaching stories, are guys that got their second chance, right? So Tom Coughlin at the New York Giants, and or Bill Belichick at the Patriots, or Andy Reid, and they had success at their other places, but they learned a lot from their first jobs. Andy Reid at the Eagles, and now obviously at the Chiefs. I think you learn so much about yourself. You learn about, working with people, listening better, maybe having a different thought on schedules and how to, treat the team meetings or talk to the team and things like that, or deal with an individual player. So I think you learn a lot about yourself on that first go around. And if you're lucky enough to get a second shot, I have a belief that you're going to be a lot better.
Be down on Josh McDaniels as the next OC here, and I don't know if it's because they think it's reliving history or whatever, but is he a good choice in your mind for Mike Vrabel to make?
Josh McDaniels is one of the best coaches. I'm very biased, Greg, because when I went to the Patriots, I was quality control, and I worked for Josh and Dante for a full season. So I was very involved with, obviously film breakdowns and things like that. But I was lucky enough to be in the offensive line meetings, the quarterback meetings. I learned so much about football from Josh, and he's just Josh is a brilliant offensive coach. Very, very smart guy. A guy that just understands the position, the offensive system, the scheme. I think at the end of the day, they just, look, if that's the decision that Mike goes with, that's, Mike and Josh have gotten together and they've worked it out, and they're going to work really well together if that's the route that they go. But, I just think that Josh is a great football coach.
Bill, I noticed one of your coaches tweet out how you're going to be hosting a bunch of camps over the summer months here for young athletes. I was curious if there's any chance you're going to be hosting any camps for young nerdy football enthusiasts who want to be coaches.
Sean, we have a clinic. So I'm not sure the date of the clinic, but we'll have a football coaching clinic. So
you just got to get a permission slip.
Yeah,
you can be a guest speaker.
Oh, wow.
God, I'd be happy to.
There you go.
We have got to get Shime to that clinic.
Yeah,
can we get him? Can we get him there for that, Bill? And document
yeah, let me get the date. Yeah, absolutely. Let's film it. Let's document it. Let's let me get the date of that.
Well, because I've seen on YouTube, Bill, you break down like Hoss wide juke at a coaching clinic.
Okay.
Love wide juke.
He is going to be so insufferable.
Shime, there's certain plays in football that I tell these guys are magical plays. Magical. And Hoss wide juke is a magical play. A magical play. So I enjoy talking about that play.
Wow. Love that play. If you're a tight end, wide juke all day long.
You two you're simpatico, you two. It's really weird. Yeah. All right, we will get Shime over there, and as always, Billy from Andover or Arlington or wherever, we appreciate you taking the time. We'll talk to you again next week, I think. Is that cool?
I think so, guys. Yep. Thank you.
You're the best. That's Bill O'Brien.